Thank you for watching this short recording. It's a heart reflection for those living a busy life and working in the fast lane. And I hope that my words, that are not my words, but the words of the cosmic Christ, which I share with your heart. There is no condemnation for those who are in me, says the cosmic Christ. The law of the Spirit of life has set you free from the law of sin and death. Not many Christians know how to live in this radical freedom because they're closed in their heart. But taking on board our humanity and our frailties, the Christ invites us to come and listen. And he says, "Come to me and rest in my peace. My face is shining upon you in rays of peace transcending understanding. Instead of trying to figure things out yourself, you can relax in the presence of the one who knows everything. And as you lean on me in trusting dependence, you feel peaceful and complete. This is how I designed you to live, in close communion with me. When you are around other people, you tend to cater to their expectations, real or imagined. Excuse me. You feel enslaved to pleasing them. And your awareness of my presence grows dim. Your efforts to win their approval eventually exhaust you. You offer these people dry crumbs rather than the living Spirit, the living water of my Spirit flowing through you. This is not my way for you. Stay in touch with me, even during your busiest moments. Let my Spirit give you words of grace as you live in the light of my peace. What's those words saying to your heart? What do you sense in your spirit? Come to me and rest in my peace. For many people, they do not know how to relax. And to rest in the peace of God would be nigh impossible. But with God, everything is possible. For he says, leave outcomes up to me. Follow me wherever I lead, without worrying about how it will all turn out. Think of your life as an adventure with me as your guide and your companion. Live in the now, concentrating on staying in step with me. When our paths leads to a cliff, be willing to climb it with my help. When we come to a resting place, take time to be refreshed in my presence. Enjoy the rhythm of life lived close to me. You already know the ultimate destination of your journey, your entrance into heaven. So keep your focus on the path just before you, leaving outcomes up to me. Those words are challenging, and I know from my own personal journey, there have been times when you really feel stretched to your limit. and you wonder which way to go. And having been a senior nurse for many years, you're so used to planning in advance, off duties, tuition, supporting young nurses in training, sticking to a diary, often 6 months in advance. So coming onto the spiritual path and learning to surrender your heart and leaving all outcomes to God can be very, very challenging. But you know, you're invited only to live one day at a time, today. But so many miss the opportunity of this new day because they're locked in fear, worry, anxiety, or maybe they've been bruised in their heart by a member of their family or by their partner or a work colleague. Maybe they've discovered, like I have, of slanderous gossip that is deeply wounding and hurting one's ego. So what do you do? Who do you go to? You go to the one who created you, and you say it as it is. You speak your truth from your heart. And if you're struggling, you say so, rather than play games. Because you often hear someone say, "Oh, and how are you today?" "Oh, I'm fine." But you know deep down from the body language that they're not fine. And some of us have great difficulty sharing how we really feel. I know as a trained nurse for all those years, you're trained to support patients. But when you become a patient yourself, as I was, it's not easy. Oh no, it's not easy in the role reversal, where you're totally beholden to the nursing and medical team, where you have to lie there and wait for them to tell you things that you may not want to hear. Or maybe you're on a spiritual path and you've come to the traffic lights and they're on red and they're not changing, and you're wondering, where do you go to from here? You're at a crossroads. Do you stay with that abusive husband or partner who belittles you in public? Or do you take your power back from them and put your trust in a loving God, take a leap of faith and begin a new journey? Or do you sit it out hoping that your prayers will be answered for them? A difficult decision to make, but only you can make it. You can go to all the counselors, therapists, and they'll each say the same. You have to follow your heart. Like I followed my heart in 2008 when I was guided to surrender my heart to God and come back as a monastic monk. And I struggled for 6 months because I had this notion, in fact I convinced myself that God wanted me to go back into the Catholic Church. And I began to get a sweat. I panicked, thinking, "Oh no, God, please, don't ask me to go back into a conventional monastery," because I had lived in one for 8 years and it wasn't all Hollywood or the Nun's Story with Audrey Hepburn. It was far from that. In fact, when I left the order on ill health grounds, I left the Catholic Church because I was so wounded and angry, embittered even. But then in time, I came back at my own pace. And I began discerning the voice of God, rather than all those negative voices that were saying, "Oh, you're a sinner, you're evil." I I began to sense something quite different, that I was loved, I was accepted. But I guess the evil one and those dark energies were saying to me, when I heard the words of the Christ come back to me, I've never let you go. When I heard those words come back to me, I presumed, wrongly, that he wanted me to come back into the Catholic Church, into a conventional monastery, and that was not the plan. The plan was to embrace the monastic life from my own home as a member of the Teo community of Interfaith Franciscans. So I didn't have to give up my freedom, leave my family and friends. I could continue to embrace a spiritual life from my own home. And that put the responsibility on me to plan my day, rather than in a conventional monastery where you have no say over what goes on each day. You go into the rhythm of the flow, up at 5:30 in the morning, in bed for 9:15. And it's the same routine, day in, day out. But we can sometimes presume that the voice we're hearing is that of God, and it may be our own ego, it may be our own fear dictating to us, leaving us fractured and wounded. So it's important to listen to the voice and discern, is it the voice of God? But we leave all outcomes to God, and we embrace our heart, our teacher. Because locked within the heart, there is the I Am presence of God, who speaks to us lovingly, who affirms us that we are a child of God, and that we are called to celebrate our life, not to live in the past, not to be embittered, unforgiving, unlovable. That isn't the path to God. The path to God is one of freedom, joy, and where you're encouraged to celebrate your life and your gifts, and let the light of the divine be seen in you wherever you go. Let us just pray for a moment. As we relax now, let us be still in the presence of love. And using our gift of free will, let us invite, invoke, and call upon our spiritual teachers with the messengers of God. And let us ask them to guide us, to show us their way, so that we may follow, instead of following our own way, which often results in deep unhappiness. Just relax and be aware that you are loved. And sense the peace and the love of a selfless God who wants you to be free of all that weighs heavy on you, and is waiting for you now to name the problem, to bless it, and now to release it to God. Are you willing to do that? Well, if you are, do it now and receive the blessing of God. A blessing that will set you free. Just relax and enjoy being who you truly are, an amazing, beautiful child of God who is loved respected, and honored. Namaste, Shalom, Inshallah Paxet Bonum, Om Shanti, Solo de Caritas, Salam Alaikum, and may the peace of your God set you free.